Welcome to a gorgeous day in the Pacific Northwest. It's November the 17th today. A little chilly, but the perfect day for a garden makeover. I have an area I've been wanting to make over for a while, so let's take a look. So this is our back gravel pathway that leads from our lower yard or terrace up into the upper garden terrace area. One of the things that I like the least about this corner of the garden and this pathway is this creeping thyme. Creeping thyme is a beautiful plant, but I have a love-hate relationship with it. It is very difficult to keep creeping thyme free from weeds and grass. I'll show you. Here's a giant weed. And coming this way, our creeping thyme borders the grass or lawn, and there's no real division. I tried to create a border between the grass and the creeping thyme with these rocks. They go all the way down, and in some ways it started to work, but I'm not sure it's ideal. And I just want to revamp this whole area. So I found these pieces of landscape edging in the garage, and I thought I would see if we can use them in this project. So first we're going to start with measuring how long of a distance we have for these pieces. So it looks like I don't have enough to do the whole section, although I do have a little bit more in the garage which I might utilize, but it's kind of in a funny shape, so we may or may not use it. But we'll start with using what we have and see if we can make this into a better arrangement. To start with removing the rocks that I put in here and sort of pulling up the grass bits that are growing over the pathway. Give the supervisor some attention while I'm here. He's laughing at me right now. He thinks it's quite fun. A look at how my edging has turned out so far. I'm pretty much finished the placement, and now I'm going to look for some flat rocks that I can replace these rocks with. So we're going to borrow some of the flat rocks I have along this backyard border that borders the fence and use them for our gravel pathway. I collected a few flat rocks to replace these more irregular shaped rounded rocks. I already have a few flat rocks in here. There's one here, and I don't know if you can see those. There's three over there. So I had a pretty good idea that the flat rocks would work out well in this area. So I thought I'd just rearrange the yard and put the flat rocks here where they may be utilized in a better way. Look at the rocks I've placed going down the pathway. This is day 2 of my pathway makeover, and we're going to start with doing some transplanting of plants into the area that we removed the creeping thyme yesterday. Here's another look at the aftermath of what we did yesterday. There is all of the landscape edging that I put in, my dirt and gravel from where I removed creeping thyme. You can tell there's a little bit left. I may or may not pull more of that out. And it goes all the way up the pathway. And at the top we put in some nice granite rocks to line the edge of the lawn. And right here is a nice patch of creeping phlox. It's almost being overgrown by my massive rock rose ground cover. So I think this is the time to transplant it. I absolutely love this pointed shovel. This is the most awesome shovel for transplanting things. I just got it. My dad bought this for me at a yard sale, and I am so thrilled with it. Wow, I did not know this plant was so big. So here we are back on the pathway on the other side now, and I am going to break that big clump of creeping phlox that we just removed into quite a few small pieces, and we're going to see how far up this stretch we can cover with the creeping phlox. This is one of the plants that you can basically create a whole pile of them for free. You just need 1 or 2 good clumps, and then you've got a whole garden worth of creeping phlox. It's an awesome plant. So if you want to break it up, you just have your roots and you've got your plant. Just take little sections apart, and there's a brand new plant right here. You could even go smaller. And I'm very happy because I think I pulled out a piece of rock rose, and I love rock roses, so I'm not mad about it. I'm gonna put it on the other side and hopefully it takes, and I get rock rose ground cover over here as well. That would be awesome. Okay, and just put some gravel and dirt over top. And I'm gonna call that planted. Don't really need to do much more. I might give it a light sprinkle of water. So I'm just gonna continue and get this whole area planted with creeping phlox. So we didn't quite have enough creeping phlox to go all the way up my pathway. We're about 1/2 to 3/4 of the way up, but I do have another ground cover growing on the opposite side of the pathway, just like my first clump. A different variety of plant. This one I'm not 100% sure. I'm not 100% sure on the name. It's something like Arbutra. I am terrible with pronouncing plant names. Arbutra, maybe? I'm not sure. I'll show you what the clump looks like because we're going to dig it up, divide it, and continue on up the pathway. So I'm not sure if you can see this. I hope you can. This is what it looks like right now, the clump of this plant that I definitely cannot pronounce. And it gets really pretty pink, almost purpley flowers in early spring. A little bit earlier than the creeping phlox, so it'll add a lot of nice color to the other side of our pathway. And it looks like I'm trying to take a autumn joy sedum with me, so we're gonna do a little manual separation here. I'm not sure what is going on here. I think the root ball is intertwined with the autumn joy sedum. This might be a problem, but we're going to keep digging. Oh, how lovely. I can tell you what this is. This is what it is. I do not know if the camera can capture that at this angle. A brisha? I don't know if you can see the tag. I really hope you can. A brutria? I don't know. Now, back to this plant challenge. Ooh, I see, we're ripping out chunks. My favorite thing to do. Perfect. And we've got a good chunk here. Looks like it came out in 3, which is pretty good. Not complaining about that. And now we're gonna go add it to our pathway on the other side. I'm gonna break it up a little more even and make myself full of dirt and create some more chunks of this lovely plant. Hopefully you'll be able to see when I do the planting because the lighting is very strong right now. You see, it's got quite a nice root system, this plant. I'm just gonna stick it right in here. Cover it up and continue on. So here is a look at how the pathway is looking so far. I'm going to call this stage, which we could call stage 1 or stage 2. I'd say it's pretty much done. What we're gonna do next is grab a rake and just rake some of the gravel back over the soil, and then we're gonna give these guys a little drink of water. Now we're going to use some frozen rainwater to water these plants because I don't really want to turn the hose back on. Let's take a look. I don't know if you can see. Whoops. There actually are ice cubes in here. I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but water up our newly planted phlox plant. Our next project linked to this gravel pathway is this little hillside flower bed, which was outlined in these rocks because I couldn't figure out what else to put here at the time when I created it. But I'm going to change these rocks to flat rocks if I have enough. I'm going to hopefully collect some, and I think they're going to work out better in this location, kind of like they did in the upper section of our pathway. So that's what we're going to do now. Gonna rearrange the soil and we'll see what it looks like when we're finished, when I'm finished. So I actually think the stepping stone ended up working out pretty well. Yes, it's not a uniform border. It's got a lot of character, but the main thing is it's much more stable than this old rock pile of really small and irregular shaped rocks. I think it's gonna stay in place a lot better, which was my main pet peeve with the little border anyways, that the rocks always rolled down. So I think it's gonna work out okay. So I think it was well worth the effort. So now we're gonna tackle the opposite side of the pathway. These roses and sedums, I was going to transplant them, but I think instead we're gonna cut them right down to the ground. And in the springtime, I will probably transplant them. I might keep them, but most likely they'll go to a new spot in the spring. And for now, we have our trusty shears, and we're just gonna cut them right down. Here's a look at my finished walkway makeover. It doesn't look that different than before. The biggest change really is probably the landscape edging and removing the creeping thyme, replacing it with creeping phlox. We did some minor changes on the other side of the pathway, removing my creeping phlox and putting it on the opposite side and removing that difficult to pronounce arbrecia plant, the arbrecia plant, and also moving that over. But overall, it doesn't look that different. I cut back a few plants, but it is much tidier. I decided to leave the remaining rocks. I might still move them, but for now they're gonna stay where they are. Thank you so much for watching my gravel pathway makeover, and we will see you very soon in another video. Have a good day.